former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachi Lawal, rejected Senator Kashim Shettima as the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Lawal, an ally of the APC presidential standard-bearer, Bola Tinubu, was reacting to Tinubu's announcement on Sunday, last week, of Shettima as his running mate. In a statement on Tuesday, the former SGF, secretary to the government of the Federation, warned that the party's decision to fill the Muslim-Muslim ticket will have consequences at the poll. He urged President Muhammadu Buhari to exercise his powers as the APC leader to revoke Shettima's nomination. Lawal, in the statement, said, and we quote, "Tinubu has made his choice, and I'm sure he thinks he's ready for the outcome of that choice. He has chosen to bring religion to the front burner of Nigerian politics, and being a Muslim, he has chosen to take sides with his own religion. For all he cares, Christians can go to blazes with their votes." End of quote. Now tell me, which Christian will vote for APC with the following contraption? Muslim presidential candidate, Muslim vice presidential candidate from Borno, Muslim national chairman Nasarawa, Muslim deputy national chairman Borno, Muslim president Katsina, Muslim Senate president Yobe, Muslim speaker Lagos, Muslim deputy speaker Plateau. Well, joining us now to share his thoughts on this raging controversy and other matters is Reverend Chris Okotie, pastor, Household of God Church International Ministries. Welcome to This Is Live, the Sunday talk show, Pastor Chris Okotie. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate this.
Well, before we go into the Muslim-Muslim controversy, let's start with the Osun State gubernatorial election, which we started this program with. And you had proposed what you called an aboriginal concept of democracy, which is different from government of the people, for the people, by the people. You talked about government of the people, for the people, with the people. Now, would what has happened, the regime change, if I may use that phrase, in Osun State, qualify as the kind of aboriginal democracy that you have in mind?
Not at all. Let me begin by prefacing this discussion with what I had said in the past. It's important that it is properly contextualized. I said that the presidential system of governance that we have experimented, which is Nigeria's second attempt at democratizing the elective process, has failed our nation. It's become inimical. It has become subversive to the Nigerian cause. It has polarized the polity. It has balkanized the Nigerian society. It has fractured the whole confederacy of the Nigerian Brotherhood. It has elevated corruption to an institution of Byzantine complexity. And therefore, it must be jettisoned from the boat of national progress. And that's why I began to propose an interim government that is government of national reconciliation and reconstruction as the mechanical instrumentality for the crystallization of the Nigeria of our dreams. Now, to be able to contextualize that, it wouldn't be by juxtaposing it with what we are seeing in Osun State or what we have seen in some of the states. The most important thing about aboriginal democracy is that it must bring democracy back to its original definition. Because what we are seeing in democracy today is government of the party, by the party, for the party. And that in itself is a jactitation of the democratic process, is a fake verisimilitude, and it is not sustainable. And it's the same thing that we have seen in Osun State. It's still partisanism. And that is why I'm proposing a concept that is completely different from what we know today. And if you have the time, we can get into the particularities of that concept.
Well, I mean, I wanted your comments specifically also on the Muslim-Muslim controversy generated by the choice of the presidential standard-bearer of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who chose a Muslim as his running mate. Now, in this just concluded Osun governorship election, It's a Christian ticket. Kola Adewusi, the deputy to Senator Ademola Adeleke, is a Christian. And yet, the people discounted religion, and they voted overwhelmingly for a Christian ticket. What would you say? Should religion matter or should it not matter, as the people of Osun State have demonstrated?
I believe that we must rise above the pastiche of religion, the mosaic of ethnicity, to an altitude where these cleavages diminish to mere superficial lacerations in the terrain of national integration. But the realities that confront us make it necessary to begin to question the operation of this particular system. It's not because religion is that important, because when you bring religion into the equation, you create a provincialism. But that is dealing with the realities that we face. The experience we've had in Nigeria, of the recent political arrangement in the country, make it very difficult for us to appreciate a system that has no bearing on religion. That is why I'm saying we must begin a new concept of aboriginal democracy that circumvents this religious problem or the situation that we face today. It's difficult to analyze the dialectics or even the dynamics of these elections. But until we get more information as to what has happened, it'll be premature to make any statements. But here's what I would say. The present predicament or the conundrum that we find ourselves has been a result of the manipulation of the political process of the two dominant parties. The PDP's umbrella has undergone a systematic perforation and discoloration and become hazardous to those who seek to recline under its shadow. The APC, on the other hand, wielding a broom which is emblematic of sanitization, has swept itself into a conundrum, because the broom by itself is not a clinical prophylactic. So you have problems on both sides. And what we need to do is to evolve a system of a democratic process that caters to our cultural sensibilities. And that's why I'm saying that we need an interim government at this time. Because this path that we have taken is a Sisyphean quest. It's a journey in futility. It is seeking to embrace an elusive phantom. We will achieve nothing. Only controversy and more controversies, and the cleavages only deepen. So I would imagine that patriots who are listening to me would understand that if Nigeria is going to remain as a corporate entity, we must do something immediately. And that's why I appealed to the flag bearers at the presidential level that they should temporize and observe a hiatus so that we can fix the problems before we can continue with governance.
Okay, Pastor, let me ask you. Let's dwell a little bit on this, your concept of government of national reconciliation and reconstruction, or the interim government, as you defined it. Well, now, Nigeria seems to have moved beyond that, okay? But in terms of content, do you want to dwell on some of the details? You are saying, for example, that the legislature should be eliminated, that it is irrelevant. Do you want to talk about it, even if it looks like Nigeria has moved ahead? You are talking about a people's constitution, okay? At what point are we going to get to that point?
Yes. Yeah. It must be clearly understood that society is dynamic. We must clearly appreciate the fact that the man was not made for the constitution. The constitution was made for man, and particularly this constitution that is fraudulent ab initio. So we cannot even be talking about this particular constitution because it does not meet democratic requirements or standards. But just for the purposes of argument, the legislature is totally unnecessary in this tripartite or the governmental trifecta that we have. We must understand that the fact that the Americans, invented this concept does not mean that it must have universal acceptance. I am not saying that we are going to get rid of the tripartite system. What I'm saying is that our cultural sensibilities do not accommodate an institution like the legislature of today. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you look at the legislature, the political conscience of the Nigerian cannot adequately accommodate the intricacies that are involved in that particular structure. Take, for instance, the fact that when the members of the legislature come to Abuja, they are divided into committees. You have committee for health, committee for the military, and things like that. And I'm saying these committees are already within the polity. You have doctors banding with doctors. You have lawyers banding with lawyers. You have market women banding with market women in what I call the concept of gregarious socialization. They have a certain consanguinity, a professional consanguinity, and they maintain an organic nexus by reason of endeavor and enterprise. So if you're going to ask an elitist club to make laws that relate to the people, I think that the right thing to do is to go to organizations that are in touch with the realities of the day. And that's why I'm saying that these associations predate some of these political parties. And if we give them the power to make laws, it will still be democratic, because democracy by itself does not envisage political parties. That word democracy is a Greek coinage. It comes from the word demokratia, which is a compound word from the word demos and the word kratos, where demos means people and kratos means visible power. There are many words that translate power in the Greek, but the Greek chose kratos, not exousia, not iskos, not dunamis, because they wanted to be specific as to the definition and the orientation of that concept of democracy. So you have people power. The shibboleth of the PDP, their slogan, power to the people, derives from its Hellenistic application. But what I'm simply saying is this: if we borrow a concept, we need to tailor it to our own cultural realities. And I'm saying that the politics we have had in the past 16, 20 some years has not demonstrated the dynamism of the Nigerian society in its ability to register a democratic process. And I'm saying that if you take democracy back to the people, where it becomes government from the people, for the people, with the people, all of these cleavages that we have today will diminish to mere lacerations in the terrain of national integration. And I'm saying that we need to try that instead of following blindly a concept that we borrowed, because we're overtaken by some fatalistic mimic spirit. We're old enough, we're mature enough, we're creative enough to evolve a system that we can sell to the world in a millennium where the quest for harmony and innovation knows no frontiers. And so that's why I'm saying that before this crisis envelopes us and Nigeria disintegrates, we must come together as a people to re-examine this pattern that we have chosen. And that is a necessity.
Well, Pastor, in the course of this conversation, some people have been sending me messages via SMS, via WhatsApp. And one particular person says, well, this time around, you are not running for the presidency of Nigeria. You did so in the past. Is it that God did not speak to you this time around? Not my question. Somebody sent it in.
You know, it is very difficult to communicate to a mind who does not understand spiritual realities, the operations of the Spirit of God. I know that sometimes they indulge in cynicism, but I always say to them, if I wanted political power, if I wanted a political career, I would have joined the dominant parties. You know for a fact that if President Buhari had run on the platform of Fresh Democratic Party, there's no way he would have won. For you to win an election and to have a political career, you must be involved with dominant parties whose tentacles pervade the longitudes and the latitudes of our political spectrum. That is the only way to win an election. But I was looking for a tribune, a podium, from which to begin to ventilate concepts of governance that will augur well for the unity of this nation. To begin to articulate a process, a concept of governance that would meet the challenges of the 21st century. These were the things that I began to pontificate on. Now, but those who are politicians and are not patriots do not understand these things. But it is not a bother to me, because our democracy has been hijacked by elitism, mysticism, and satanism. And I always tell people that the concept of political powers is not within, or political parties, is not within the definition of democracy. Political parties are an ingenious expedient, the figment of some consummate political artificer to continue to make rich men perpetuate their authority and to dominate the poor. That is why all over the world, political parties are run by rich men. It's a patrician system. See? But if we say that we're a people who have an understanding of the intricacies of our diversity, then we must begin to look into a new concept where we can translate the paraphernalia of our diversity into the apparatus of national unity, where we can begin to let the people understand that we have a common destiny, and that the card of ethnicity and religion that these mischievous politicians have played have almost destroyed the nation. And the time has come for us to do that. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And when the season comes, the agitation becomes ubiquitous. When the time comes, the mandate becomes an imperative. And I believe that we are at the cusp of a great, great crisis. And if we do not do what we need to do, we will be very, very sorry. We can make hay while the sun still shines.
Well, Pastor Okotie, your proposals are out there, and there's conversation around the major topics about constitution, new constitution, the people's constitution, restructuring, federalism, and then redefining our democracy. So what you've done is to further catalyze that discussion. But you talked about young people with technological capacity as the future of Nigeria. But if you look at this entire process, it looks like the youths of Nigeria are right in the forefront. They are the ones going out there to see if they can get their PVCs and all of that. What you are proposing may not come immediately. Do you feel encouraged by the fact that young people are now, what's that word they use again? Woke. Okay, I hope I pronounce it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you did. That's the terminology.
What do you think? And when you look at
that's it. You're right.
When you look at the field, before your vision comes to fruition, where do you stand? Are you with Peter Obi or are you with Asiwaju?
I'm enthused.
Okay.
I am enthused by the fact that the young people of this nation are taking their destiny in their own hands. But you must understand that the politics of Nigeria transcends youthful exuberance or certain excessiveness. It's beyond that, because there are technicalities that are involved that make it almost impossible for you to make that kind of impression, particularly at this time. People do not vote for personalities in this country. They vote for parties. That's why I call it partisanism. That is why they are all desirous of representing the political parties. APC and PTB cannot be challenged when it comes to national spread. They cannot be, and that's been realistic, away from the sentimentality of any youth involvement. Now, I would like to see a difference, but the system in itself is faulty ab initio, and it cannot produce anything outside the way it has been programmed. So I am saying, without being pessimistic, that there is nothing that is going to change if we follow this path. Our people, yes, are desirous of change, but change is not going to come within this system, because this system has been programmed to fail. Change derives from a vertical impetus that translates into a horizontal movement. It is not just something that is speculative or that is sentimental. It requires a complete overhaul. And that's why I'm saying, for Nigeria to survive, the presidential system of governance must be changed. It must be. Because the political parties are so entrenched and formidable. You cannot dislodge them. It's an absolute impossibility. So this is not even a question of taking sides with one flag bearer or the other. I'm saying, as a patriot, that we've come to a juncture in our political evolution that we must temporize, no matter what it is. For the sake of the corporate existence, unity of this nation, we must begin to re-examine what it is that we have done that has failed us this far. And if we proceed, it will be a journey in foolishness. It will be comprehensive fully. And it will eventually implode. So what I'm saying here is we need change, yes. But that change is not going to come within these elements. The only way this is going to happen is that we change the presidential system. That's why I called it aboriginal democracy, because it will create a rapprochement where people can sit down together and decide how they want to be governed. It will change our constitution, because this is not a federalist constitution. In a federalism, you need to understand the centrifugal and the centripetal forces, how they interact and how they are manipulated. That is not what is obtainable in this constitution. We need to understand that people are desirous of how they will control their own resources. These are fundamental issues that must be dealt with before we begin to talk about leadership. Because what is government? It's the science. What's politics? It's the science of government. It has no conscience. It has no emotion. But leadership communicates the humane capacity within man in organization of society for the subject of that society, which is the individual. Politics is only involved with the state, where the state is that collective entity that represents a geographical expression of organized society. To the politician, you are just a statistic. Well, completely lost in the red tapeism of administration. So I'm saying, and I want to reiterate that again, Nigeria must come to a halt in this entire process. We must re-examine this process, and we must find a solution before it is too late.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Pastor Chris Okotie, for joining us on this Live Day Sunday Talk Show. Thank you very much indeed.